This conference will now be recorded.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Today we are going to talk about how to lead an effective listing conversation. And I'm going to make a big deal right up front of the title, because it's not how to give an effective listing presentation, did you notice? But how to lead an effective listing conversation. I think one of the most intimidating things for a new agent is to think about the dog and pony show that you've got to put on when you finally get in front of a seller. You got to have the charts and the graphs and the musical videos, and then you got to show them the CMA, and don't forget all the contract documents and the flip charts and the pull-up banners. I mean, it just feels overwhelming. And I want to say, and I realize I'm over dramatizing for effect, but the point is, no, you don't need all that stuff. That is not what sellers want. They're not looking for an agent to come in and wow them with a lot of pizzazz. What they want is for an agent who will ask great questions to uncover the seller's wants and needs, and then provide tailored solutions to meet those wants and needs. In the end, they want to be convinced that you are a competent real estate agent who is willing and able to help them accomplish their real estate goals. And if you can do that, you're going to win the listing. So don't be concerned. If you go to listing classes, you're going to hear the dog and pony stuff, and all the big pizzazz you got to do, and how you got to build yourself up, and I'm the best real estate agent ever, and I've got 400 active listings. That doesn't matter. When every agent starts, your first listing is the first one you ever get, right? You don't have that background. You don't have the experience. You can't overwhelm them with all of your previous successes. So how in the world did you get that first one? Yeah, you asked good questions, you listened, you provided an effective solution. So just do that from the very beginning. Don't feel like you have to change that. That is the proven path. Yes, sir.
My first one, I got a call and I said, can we talk about it tonight? They said, well, come on over now. So I'm driving over there. I don't have a single piece of collateral material.
Yes.
Don't have anything prepared. What else? But the one thing I had was they said they were going to sell the Zillow. And from the title company pulled out an infographic that said selling with an iBuyer versus using an agent.
Yes.
And I said, if you've got time, I can show you how I can save you like 30 grand. And he said, come on over. I didn't have a single thing.
Right.
And I just said, if you're jumping on a plane now to Katy, then fine. You can mail your keys to Zillow. And
yes.
But if you've got a minute, we can save you 30 grand. And I didn't have any other material.
Right.
Brochure.
So you're just making my point for me. Yes. Yes, I appreciate that. So what I want to share with you this morning are just a couple documents that will help you have that kind of conversation with the seller, that demonstrates that you are listening to them and understand their needs and desires and have an effective plan for meeting them. So the first one is this homeowner and property profile. I sent the link out this morning. If you haven't seen it yet, it's in your email inbox. It is a Word doc, so it's completely customizable. I had to go in and take out the Abbey Realty logo this morning, so you can put in your own logo, EXP logo, your own contact information, whatever you want to do to customize it for yourself. I would encourage you to start filling out this document before you show up for the listing conversation. You want to get some basic information from the homeowner over the phone before you arrive for the conversation. So put in your name, agent, put in the address. Very important, the appointment date and time that you agree upon with the sellers. You don't want to hang up the phone and say, oh gosh, was that 6 or 7? So write it down. You want to have this in front of you when you're having the conversation. You want to put in the contact information for the sellers. Typically, it's going to be a husband-wife scenario, not always. But if there are a couple sellers, get the contact information for both of them. And that way, if something comes up and you have to reschedule or you get a flat tire on the way, you know how to reach them. And then I would just ask a few basic questions. We're not going to do a detailed questionnaire, but there's just a few basic things that are going to be helpful to you in advising them on pricing strategy once you arrive. And if you know this in advance, you can be prepared to adjust your basic conversation tailored to their needs. So here's the simple questions. Hey, tell me why you're thinking about moving. Tell me why you're interested in selling. Just very naturally, hey, what's prompting your move? Put it in your own words. I'm not a script and dialogue guy. Think of a way that's very natural for you to ask the question. And then I would say, and what is your preferred moving date? Moving date is better than when do you want to sell your home? Because what does that mean? Yeah, does that mean the day I want to put my home on the market? Does it mean the day I want to go under contract? Does it mean the day I want to close? So I like to ask it this way: what is your preferred moving date? And then that gives you a terminal date to work backwards from. And then I would ask them still on the phone before you actually show up for the listing conversation, hey, tell me a little bit about your house. Have you made any upgrades or improvements during the time that you've lived in there? Are there any unusual features about your home that buyers might find attractive? And here's where they may talk about their outdoor kitchen, or they have a basement, and in Houston, how crazy is that? Or they've just put on a new deck, they've just remodeled the master bath. Ask these kinds of questions. By the way, why would this be important to know before you arrive?
So that you can say maybe, hey, why don't you show me the...
Sure, so when you arrive, you've got something to talk about, right? Very eager to see this remodeled master bathroom. Anything else? What is some of the homework that you're going to do? That's exactly right. You're going to be running a CMA prior to arrival so that you can properly advise them on the market value of their home. But a CMA can't tell you everything. It's based upon closed data of like homes in the neighborhood. But like homes, are they alike if one has a remodeled master bath and one doesn't? One has a new deck and one doesn't? One has a pool and one doesn't? So you need to know this information in advance. And let's say that they have a pool. Let's say it's 8 years old. It's not a custom pool. It's a basic backyard pool with a little spa, hot tub area, little hot water in it, that they paid $40,000 for 8 years ago. It's been well maintained. What does that do to your value recommendation? Pool, $40,000 8 years ago. Not much. Okay, we're going to deduct 10,000, right? In some neighborhoods, a pool is a negative, right? It is in some cases. How would you determine the value impact of that pool? There you go. You want to look at other comps. Look at other pool homes, similar homes, same neighborhood, and so run a CMA on just pool homes, then comparable homes without pools, and see what the differential is. And of course, you're going to have to look at every one of the pool homes. One might be a new pool, one might be a custom pool. One might be 12 years old and they're just about to bulldoze it, fill it in with dirt. So you have to look at the homes and make these adjustments. But typically what you're going to see is that a pool adds value to the home of about half what the homeowners paid for it. Typically, a $50,000 pool, 5 years old, may add about $25,000 in value. Okay, just kind of as a general rule of thumb, but then you can look at the specifics for comparison. But that's why you want to know this stuff. Yes, sir.
But what if it's just beautiful, the backyard,
Like a Garden of Eden.
yeah.
Yes. No, a general rule doesn't mean it's a fixed rule, right? Yeah, no, if it's something spectacular, it could have a spectacular premium attached to it, right? You could have a pool in the back that's not been well maintained, and now it is absolutely a negative. I took a listing in Creekside about 5 or 6 years ago, and the guy had put this custom creek water feature in the back, where it built this big rock wall with the waterfall coming down, and the water flowed all through the backyard, and he had a little koi pond here and there. I couldn't sell the house. Nobody wanted it. Why? It was a maintenance nightmare. Somebody taking that on, it's like getting a new puppy, right? A new puppy that never grows up. You're constantly going to be maintaining that thing and putting chemicals into it or hiring a company to maintain it. It didn't provide the value of a pool. He thought it added about 100 grand in value. That's about what he'd spent on it, but nobody wanted it. It actually was a detriment to the value of the home. Neighborhood improvements, amenities, and features. You want to ask about this if you're not familiar with the neighborhood. So tell me about Northampton. Well, we've got 2 pools. We've got half a dozen tennis courts. We've got great common areas for community gatherings and family barbecues. There's a great community feel. The HOA, we love each other. Little white lie, okay? So learn, if you're not familiar with the neighborhood, ask those kind of questions. Well, we're on a golf course. Well, the neighborhood is or your house is? Well, both. It's a golf course community and we're on the 9th hole. Okay, that's just outside the green. That's the kind of stuff that you need. And then just ask this question gently if you're in rapport with them. You know, if the conversation is a little bit tense or you haven't really connected, I wouldn't ask this question. But if you're in flow with them, I'd say, hey, is there anything in your home that you're aware of right now that really needs to be improved upon prior to going on the market? Oh, yes.
So you wouldn't suggest like, are you gonna fix that?
No, I'm just asking right now.
If I were to fix that, you can fix that.
And you'll hear some stuff. Well, as a matter of fact, we had a fire in the attic 2 years ago and the house still smells like smoke. Okay, that's a real one. I had that listing, okay? And by the way, if you ever have a listing like that, I own what I call a de-stinkifier. And it's a little ionizer machine. It's about the size of a toaster. I keep it upstairs in a closet. And you put it in a home overnight, it takes out pet odors, smoke odors, all kinds of stuff. And you're welcome to borrow it. Yeah, maybe 1,200 square foot. Yeah, if it's a big home, you'll want to move it around a little bit. Now, you can't run it when there's people or pets in the house. It's dangerous. So you can really only use it in a vacant home or if they're going to be away for the weekend or that kind of thing. But it's very powerful and effective. And I used it in this home where they had a fire and it still smelled like smoke, and it was incredible. Oh, they're not expensive at all. I mean, 50, 60 bucks. An ionizer? Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Yeah, don't search on de-stinkifier. That's my own registered trademark name. So yeah. So I think it's appropriate. There's a lot of controversy among, listing agents, whether you should ask this question. But I want to know, because sellers these days are all over the board on values. I mean, they think they can ask for the moon. And if I know that I'm going to have to adjust some expectations. If I know that in advance, I can be better prepared for it. So and it's helpful for me to ask this question now before I've even seen the house, so that if I need to adjust my expectations when I get there or adjust their expectations when I get there, I can do that, because now I don't have the data, so anything goes. When I get there, I'm like, we had the conversation on the phone and you said you felt like the home value was $450, and I understand that. That makes a whole lot of sense. In fact, my comps show that $450 is about what homes in this neighborhood are going for. However, the average comparable home like yours in this neighborhood, similar square footage, has 4 bedrooms and 3 baths, or at least 2.5. And because you took out the powder room to make an extra storage closet, you're a 4.2. Believe it or not, that missing powder room or extra full bath has about a $20,000 value hit in this neighborhood. Okay, so you can have that conversation once you get there and you see that. But I want to know up front, if I know values are $450 and they want $600, right? I'm not going to argue with them. I'm just going to say $600,000. Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Okay, that's all. I'm just gathering information at this point. The rest of the questions that are on this homeowner information form, I'm going to ask at the listing conversation. I'm going to take this form that I've started filling out, take it with me to the listing conversation, and then get this extra data. And so just run through these real quick. Trash pickup days. Why do I want to know that? Well, because we probably want some street scene photographs, and we don't want trash cans in front of every home. So if the trash pickup is Thursday, I'm going to schedule photography for a day other than Thursday. Yard maintenance day, same reason. I don't want lawnmower trucks up and down the street. Ideally, we would take photography the day after the yards are maintained, or this particular home. I've lived in neighborhoods where the HOA took care of all the yards, and most neighborhoods it's individual. But if this individual homeowner uses a lawn service, find out what day they come. Direction the home faces, very important. I used to actually carry a compass with me in my realtor kit in the car. Why don't I carry one now, Kevin? It's on the phone, right? We carry a compass with us all the time, but go ahead, stand at the front of the house and get the direction it's facing. That is a very important issue when scheduling your photographer. What do you want in terms of sunlight and photography?
You want sunlight on the sun.
Yes.
Or you want beautiful afternoon, whatever that.
The glow photographs?
Glow light.
Yes. So yes, ideally, you're going to want the sun high and on the front of the home, because that's going to give you your best photographs. Sunlight on it.
Right. I said the golden hour.
Yeah, the golden hour. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. We all look good in the golden hour. Kip, the ladies say you're really good looking at closing time. So the direction the home faces, preferred photography date and time, and this is where you're asking the seller, because sometimes they're terrified of having photography done. Why would a seller be worried about that? It does look bad, and they know it. And you're going to see it when we get into the conversation piece. We're going to talk about how to prepare the home for photography. Actually, I have a separate document for that, but we're going to talk about it in the discussion list, and it can be overwhelming to sellers. So go ahead and allow enough time. If they want to push it out a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, then accommodate them. Don't add additional stress. Will, did you have a question? No. Okay. All right. Very good. And then the primary contact for showing approval, if this is an occupied home and it's going to be appointment required, who is the most accessible owner? That's what you want. Sometimes it's the husband, the wife, adult child in the home or whoever, but find out who that is. Special instructions for pets. And these are instructions that you would put in the MLS. Karen, would you mind shutting that back door back there? So, you know, for example, in the MLS, you may, or in the showing, with a showing service, you may want to say, you know, rabid Doberman Pinscher is in kennel in the laundry room. Please do not open the door. Okay, that's what I mean by special instructions to put in there. Alarm code and location, you know, just inside the garage door. Here's the code, the gate code if it's a gated community. Location of the Supra and the Supra serial number, location of the combo and the combo code. And this is an appropriate time for me to say, whenever you get your next listing, put a Supra on the front door and a combo on the back gate. 2 lock boxes on every listing. It will save you so much grief, and showing agents so much grief. And I haven't shown many homes in the last 3 or 4 years because I haven't been actively selling, but I've been celebrating that I had a closing last Friday. Okay, yay.
So why the 2 boxes?
That's what I'm about to tell you. So in my limited showing activity over the last 4 years, this one bit me on the behindy just in the last couple of weeks. Because I went to show a home. It was the home my buyers actually ended up buying. We get to the front, I go to my Supra, and the Supra won't work. It is not working. I cannot get Supra on the phone. They put me in this endless support loop, and I don't have the information. We can't get in. I call the listing agent. Listing agent, could you come unlock it for us? I'm downtown. We're up here across the highway, north edge of the Woodlands. And I'm like, what am I going to do? I ended up calling an agent I knew in the neighborhood. She wasn't available. She knew someone else. She called an agent. That agent came over and let me in the house. You do not want to be in that position. And none of us had to be in that position if the listing agent would have just put a doggone combo on the back gate. And she could have said to me, 3390 on the back gate, and you got a key to get in. The answer to your question is, Nancy, Supras don't always work. Okay, they don't. And in my case, we had to completely remove it from the phone. We did this later and reload it once I wasn't with my buyers. But what an embarrassing situation. We have many people who come to show our homes who are licensed real estate agents, but they're not from HAR. They might be from San Antonio or Austin or Dallas, and they have a client down here. Their Supra doesn't work on our homes. And you don't want to be the one with a Clear Lake listing, and you got to run down there and let them in, because this might be the one, right? Put the stinking combo on the back gate. It will save you and your buyer showings, your showing agents, tons of grief. When the Supras are electronic, computer-based instruments, which means things happen. They are going to malfunction. Yes, sir.
And inspectors and any other.
That's right. Plumbers, electricians, that you don't want back door. I prefer back gate. That's just you may have your own little system. That's always been mine. The gate into the backyard. I don't lock the gate. I just hang the combo on the gate so that it's easily found. And I do the same way on every single house. Why? So I don't have to remember where I put it, right? Supra on the front door, combo on the back gate. If you don't like the back gate, figure out something that's consistent that you can do on every home, okay? Save you tons of grief.
So a few weeks ago, you came in and you had family members going to buy something. So then you worked all weekend to try to make it.
Yes. Yes.
You came up with a good bit of time.
Yes.
And then I've not heard that you got it done.
That's the one I closed on last Friday. Yes. So yes, it was the 5th one we put an offer on that we got. And it was because, honestly, the listing agent worked with me. And I tried this on the first 4, and they did typical real estate agent. You know, I'm like, because everyone was multiple offers. And the listing agents would just give me no help whatsoever. The fifth one finally did. And I said, look, this is the fifth time we put an offer on. They really want it. And I know you can't tell me where the other offers are. I get that. But this is what we're considering offering. It was listed at 307. I said, we're prepared to make an offer at 325 cash with a 3-week closing. All I want to know is, are we in the running? And she said, no. Now, would you have thought that? No, you're not in the running. My buyers had already authorized 335. So I said, well, if we went to 335, 3-week closing, don't tell me if we're going to get it. Just say, are we in the running? Are we in a good position? And she said, yes, you are. Okay. So then she called me back and said, well, we got another one. You're a few $100s apart, but if you can give me 335 on a 14-day closing, you got it. And we did, but it was the listing agent being willing to work with me. Now, did she do anything to violate her fiduciary duty to her client, the sellers? No. What her willingness to talk to me got them the deal they wanted. And I'm saying that when you guys get a listing, please do not be typical realtor, highest and best by 5 p.m. on Monday, and I can't tell you a thing.
Yeah, because your client might just go up.
That's exactly right. Your fiduciary duty is to get the best deal for your client, and sometimes that means talking to these buyers agents. Okay? Now, you cannot reveal unless, you can't do even what she did with me unless authorized by your seller. But all you have to do is have a conversation with your seller and say, hey, we got 4 or 5 offers on the table. Would you give me permission to talk to the offering agents and see if I can't get you one who will offer the exact deal that you want? They're going to say yes every time. Okay? 99% of agents don't know that, but you know it. And if you practice that, you're going to get the best deal for your sellers. Okay?
I have a question.
They got the parents to fund the job.
Yes.
And then they increase.
Yeah. Parents paid cash for it, and now now the parents are selling it to the kids on an FHA loan.
Question. I have a listing agent who sent so I called him, I asked him if he could see the house, he said, yeah, we have 2 offers. And so we get out there, he ends up, so we were gonna make an offer. He sends me a spreadsheet with 30 offers on it.
Yes.
Everything about it, every single offer, and I'm like, why? First of all, is that okay? Second of all, why would somebody let 30 offers come in?
Okay, so first of all, I want you to answer your own question. Is that okay? Is it okay for those online for a listing agent who is also the seller? Okay, to send out a spreadsheet showing all the terms of the 30 offers. Is that okay? But we just learned that he is the seller. So Nancy, there is nothing wrong with that whatsoever.
But what about 30 offers? Don't you stop at some point?
It's like how many people, how many workers to the worker?
So
There's no limit.
what you want to do, you don't want to set a limit on the number of offers you're going to receive. You want to set a deadline for the receiving of offers. And whether you get 3, 30, or 300 doesn't matter. That doesn't obligate the seller to take one of them. If they get 30 and they still don't find one that's acceptable, what I would encourage you to do as the listing agent is to take the closest offer to what your seller wants and then call that agent and say, you know what? You're the closest to what my seller wants, but we need another $5,000, or we need to adjust the closing date, or we need a seller lease back for a week. Can you accommodate? And if they'll get up there, then you've made your deal. So don't just give up. But no, there's no limit on offers.
I have it in my mind when you said that if a person brings, if an agent brings an offer and they refuse it, you know what I'm saying, that they could still owe you.
Okay, so what Nancy is saying is if a buyer brings an offer at listing price and listed terms, does the seller have to accept it? No, they do not. But what she said is that the seller may owe the listing broker a commission. Is that true? Well, that's what you should have asked me.
Oh,
And the answer is yes. The listing broker.
listing broker or the buyer?
The listing broker, right? Because the listing broker is the one who has the agreement with the seller. And the listing broker procured a buyer who was willing to purchase the home on the terms publicly offered by the seller. The seller's not obligated to take the offer, but according to the terms of the listing agreement, got to read those things, they may owe the listing broker a commission. Now, the buyer agent may have a case against whom? Oh, actually, I'm sorry. No. I'm sorry. I was taking you down a path that was wrong. So just scratch that. Just scratch that from your memory. Okay. I corrected myself before I got to the finish line. Yeah. All right, so put in all this information on the Supra and the combo, the showing type, is it vacant and you can just go anytime, or is an appointment required? Any showing restrictions, no showings Tuesday and Thursday between 2 and 4 p.m. because that's when the nurse comes to the house, that kind of thing. Any special showing instructions. And then, well, I have a place here on this information form for room dimensions. And I got to tell you, as a listing agent, this was my bugaboo. I would very consistently forget to measure. I'd get so excited. I got all the contract documents signed. I'm headed out the door. And you know what I would typically do? I would go back and pray that this home had been previously listed. Okay. So I could go rip off the old room dimensions, or that I had sold this floor plan before, or I could find another floor plan. And I would sometimes do that. I would search on the MLS for a home in the same neighborhood of the identical square footage, same baths and bedrooms. And then I would just hope that was the same floor plan. Okay. Well, that's in there by default. Okay. But my point is, even if you have a builder floor plan with professionally printed room dimensions, you want to measure yourself. You want to take these measurements because we want the information that we put in the MLS to be as accurate as possible. And Nancy is correct. There's a disclaimer automatically printed in there that buyer must verify square footage and room dimensions. It's there. But that is not a get out of jail free card for us not to take this responsibility seriously. So, and it's so easy these days with the laser measurement tools. They don't work in every room because, sometimes their walls are odd and the room may have 6 walls, that kind of thing. But they're really handy for shooting ceiling heights, 12-foot ceilings in the family room, that kind of thing. So I would take a laser measure with you. I would also take an old-fashioned tape measure with you and measure the rooms. And this is a fun thing that you can do. I would do it when I remembered at the very end of the conversation, after everything was signed, sealed, delivered, I would get the sellers involved in helping me take the measurements. Okay, whether that's holding the tape measure at the other end or that kind of thing, just gets them involved in the process and can be a somewhat of a bonding experience for you. And then the last thing I have on this information sheet is listing agent is instructed to reject all offers below, and you fill in the price there. Why is that important? Well, yes, it's helpful for you to know that, what a certain bottom line on a price for them. But the most important thing is, if you're in a price range that's affordable for most families, let's say 175 to 350, you are going to be bombarded as a listing agent by lowball offers from investors. You go in at a listing price of 325, which is market value, you're going to start getting offers of 225, 230, 235, all cash, close in 2 weeks. By law, what do you have to do? Present all offers. Well, hold on. I want you to understand the point. Let this sink in. You just listed at 325 market value. Now you get an offer at 225. You're legally obligated to take this to the seller. How does the seller feel about the offer? And more importantly, how does the seller feel about you? Right? They take these lowball offers as a sign of your incompetence as a real estate agent. Hey, we agreed it's worth 325. Why are you bringing me this garbage? Well, because Texas Real Estate Commission says I'm legally obligated to present with all offers, and all of a sudden you're sending them 7, 8, 9 offers a day. They don't want that garbage, okay? The only way you can legally not present those offers is to have written authorization from your sellers. So this is where I recommend you get it, right here. 325, that's market value. We agree, right? Absolutely. Yes, I tell them when this hits the market, we're going to be inundated by lowball offers. Is it okay if I just reject them? Let's say if they're below 300. And otherwise, I'm legally obligated to present them to you unless you give me permission just out of hand to dismiss them, okay? And then when they come into your email inbox, you simply reply, seller has instructed me to reject all offers below 300,000. Thank you very much. Boom. Okay? It will save you tons of grief. Tons of paperwork, and it'll save your seller's grief, okay? And then I have a spot on here for referrals. This goes back to my Brian Buffini training. You know, you want to be asking for referrals at every major stage of the transaction process, because when people are buying or selling a home, they're acutely attuned and aware to other people who are buying and selling homes or thinking about it. You know, it's that selective perception. You buy a yellow Volkswagen, you see yellow Volkswagens everywhere. You're selling a home, you suddenly tune in to anybody who's thinking about selling a home. And so you ask them at this point, hey, I really appreciate you allowing me to represent you in the sale of your home. Are you aware of anybody else among your family, friends, coworkers who are also thinking about buying or selling a home? Would it be okay if I reached out to them? Don't let them say, oh yeah, Susie, who works in the cubicle next to me, she was talking about selling her house. I'll have her call you. Will Susie ever call you? No, let that sink in. Susie will never call you. If that's going to turn into a deal, you have to get Susie's contact information. So say, that's awesome. I'd love to hear from Susie, but you know what? I'm sure she's got a lot going on in her life, and she might even lose my number after you give it to her. Would it be okay if I reached out to Susie? Fantastic. What's her email address? What's her cell number? And now you're in control of the conversation. Okay? All right. Somebody say amen. 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 Okay. So there we go. That's the homeowner and property information form. You start filling it out in the pre-listing phone call, and then you complete it when you are at the kitchen table. Now we're going to shift gears and go to the second document that I sent out today. Let me stop sharing for just a moment and open that up. Oh, we got a good crowd online. Appreciate you guys being with us. Let me open up the second document, then I'll be able to share it again. Come back to my little document. There we go. The kitchen table listing conversation. And if you're at home, go ahead and open that. Let me share my screen so you all can see mine. And here we go. I love it when the technology works. Makes me so happy. Okay, let's get this out of the way. Oh, I'm always afraid to hit the X. Okay. Yeah, technology scares me. Okay, let me zoom in here and see if I can enlarge this. Here we go. All right, the kitchen table listing conversation. Not what? What's the P word that we've banned from our vocabulary? Presentation. We are here to have a conversation. So this let's see, do I even go pre-arrival here? No, I didn't. So in the third link that I sent out this morning, the seller task list, I actually do a lot before you arrive at the home and then a lot after the kitchen table conversations. We're just talking about that centerpiece, but I would encourage you to open that third link because it talks about when you should arrive at the home, where you should park, what time you should actually ring the doorbell. And let's just pause and talk about that for just a moment, because this came up, my wife and I were having this discussion earlier this week. If your appointment is at 6 p.m., what time should you arrive?
You mean ring the doorbell of the house?
No. I've got multiple questions. My question is, what time should your car pull onto the street? 10, 15 minutes early, okay? So now you're on the street 10 or 15 minutes early. What do you want to do with those 10 or 15 minutes? Look around. That's exactly right. Don't stop and park. Drive the neighborhood. See where the elementary school is, where the park is. Get familiar with the amenities. Look at what other homes are for sale and who's got them listed for sale, okay? So get some boots on the ground intelligence during that time. Now, when you park your car, where should it be parked? In the street, not the driveway. Not the driveway, right? Because there may be family members in the garage who need out. There may be family members arriving later who need in. Don't block the driveway. There's another really critical reason you never want to park in a client's driveway. That's exactly right. Your car might leak oil.
You look at me?
You know what? I'm looking at me. You know why? Because I've got a new home. I'm parking in my garage, and my wife points out there's some oil spots in your parking spot, right? My truck is 7 years old, and it just goes with the territory, just gets a little drippy, okay? And she doesn't want that on her new garage floor, but I certainly wouldn't want it in a client's driveway. Yes. Well, let me say this. If it's a vacant home, it doesn't matter. And if the weather's bad, get as close to the front door as you can. But if it's an occupied home, always the street, because you may have a scheduled appointment and those sellers are still in there. They're waiting until you arrive and then they're going to leave, and you don't want to block them in. Yeah. Okay. When should you ring the doorbell for a 6 o'clock appointment? 6 o'clock. Don't buy this. Oh, I'm going to show them how eager I am, and I'm going to ring the bell 10 minutes early. What are they doing 10 minutes before 6? Trying to get the house ready for your arrival. You show up at 10 till, they're still eating TV dinners in front of the evening news, okay? And they're freaked out that you're seeing the dishes in the sink. They didn't get the roach spray off the kitchen counter. They didn't make the bed. Their dirty clothes are strewn down the hallway. So don't catch them off guard. If it's 6 o'clock, 6 o'clock.
Or worse, coming out of the shower.
Coming out of the shower.
It's happened. And major lawsuit. The agent's yelling, realtor, and they don't hear it. And, oh, hello.
Yes. Hey, by the way.
They didn't get the message that there was a show.
So, okay, I've done that. And it was a situation with me where the husband approved the showing appointment. The wife he didn't tell her. Okay. So all of these scenarios are possible. And that's the last thing, Bob, I'm glad you brought that up. How do you enter the home for a showing? And I know this is a seller class, but just indulge me because I know we have a lot of less experienced agents. It doesn't matter if it's an occupied home or a vacant home. You want to follow the same procedure. You unlock the door, open the door, of course, ring the doorbell multiple times before you open the door, then knock, open the door, and call out, realtor, realtor. I don't care if it's a vacant home. Doesn't matter. And then when you're satisfied, now when you poke your head in, look around. If you see a woman's purse on the kitchen counter, beware. This is real life I'm talking about, okay? The naked woman at the top of the stairs, Her purse was on the kitchen counter. And you know what? The dirty clothes, they had just been washed. The basket for folding was sitting there in the living room. Both of those were red flags that somebody was home and that they were unprepared for our arrival. Okay. But I did the routine and hollered and all that. We were all inside the home when she steps out on the landing. Okay. So it happens, but you just want to do everything that you can to prevent it from happening. So you then step back. Don't enter the home first. You've unlocked it, you've called out, you've taken a peek, you step back and you swing the door open and you invite your clients to explore the home. You don't need to lead them around, like they're a mule on a halter. You let them go. The husband may go straight to the garage. Kids may go to the backyard. Mama may go to the master bedroom. That's okay. You let them do their thing. If they're little kids, you want to give some instructions about how to supervise them, but don't lead them around. You kind of stay in the center of the home and be available there to answer questions. And who knows, if they turn out to be axe murderers, you've got easy access, to the front door to get out. Okay. All right. So let's get back to our purpose today. The kitchen table listing conversation. You've parked in the street. You ring the doorbell on the moment of the appointed hour. As they invite you in, thank you so much for inviting me into your home. Being very gracious, of course. Just let your natural personality come out. Don't try to script this, but just be friendly and gracious to them. Once you sit at the kitchen table, let me pause. There's one more thing I want to share with you before we get to the kitchen table. Once you walk in and you greet them at the door, if you've not seen the home before, they may want to sit down immediately, maybe in the living room or whatever. But before you do that, say to them, would you mind giving me a tour of your home? Because you need to know what's there. You need to know what the condition of the home is. You need to make an assessment of the amenities and upgrades in the home. You need to know how this home compares with the comparables. Is it same grade, above grade, below grade? Because this is going to impact your pricing decision, your recommendation. And while you're touring the home, what are you doing emotionally? What's happening relationally? You're building relationship, you're bonding with them, you're seeing the little league pictures, you're seeing the vacation photos, all this kind of stuff, which are things that you may have in common with them. Well, I didn't know you used to be a professional wrestler. I did too. Okay, so you can pick up these things and hopefully really bond with them. I call this the kitchen table conversation because you want to get to the kitchen table, not the living room. That's not where you have business conversations. And it's hard to sign contracts in a lazy boy. Okay, so you want to get to the kitchen table. And when if they act like they're going to the living room, I would take the lead and suggest, may we sit in the kitchen? When you get to the kitchen, ask them, where would you like me to sit? Because mama may have her chair and papa may have his chair, and in some homes, you don't sit in their chairs, okay? It's like the three bears and all that kind of stuff, okay? Now, ideally, you don't want to sit between them. You don't want to be in the middle of the table and have mama at one end and papa at the other. Why? Ping pong. You can never see both of them at the same time. And while you're talking to papa, you know what mama's doing? That's right. They're doing hand signals back and forth. You don't even know what's going on, and they're running the conversation, okay? Ideally, you're going to have the sellers sitting side by side with you across from them so that you can make eye contact with both of them at the same time. And it will also facilitate the signing of documents. So ask them if they have a preferred seat for you to sit in. And if they do, sit in that, and then try to arrange them where they're going to be across from you, okay? Won't work every time, but the vast majority of the time, it will work, okay? Then you want to ask them, did you get a chance to review the information that I sent you? What information? This is covered in the seller task list, the third link that I sent you. And this could be everything from the seller's disclosure list, a copy of the listing agreement. It could be comparables. It could be how to prepare your home to sell. There's a whole list of things that you can send them in advance. It could be your personal bio. Did you get a chance to review this information? Do you have any questions about it? Did it give you a better sense of who I am and my experience in helping people like you sell their home? Right? So by the way, if you've never sold a home, can you make that statement? My experience in helping people like you sell their home. Well, if you're an oil and gas executive for 30 years, hopefully you've gained some experience in working with people that has helped you sell their home, right? You understand a little bit about marketing, a little bit about finance, a little bit about pricing. That you've picked up skills in life that will help you do that. Can you tell me what's prompting your move? You should have that information, but if you don't, you can get it now. When do you need to be in your new home? Again, this is a very specific question. If they're moving to Pittsburgh because one of the adults in the family got transferred, it may be 2 different dates. Well, mama's got to be in Pittsburgh to start her new job November 1st, but we want to keep this kids in school through the end of the semester. So we don't want to be at our new home in Pittsburgh until about the 1st of the year. So that's why you want to ask these kinds of questions, okay? Then, have you been through the home selling process before? Ask that question regardless of their age, because it may have been 40 years since they sold a home. We had a lady in our home over the weekend, Northampton resident, who built that home 50 years ago, and she still lives in it. 50 years, unbelievable. I would have lived in 50 different homes during that time, okay? Have you been through the process before? If no, what questions do you have about the process? And anything could come up here. It could be about, well, showings or open houses, or where are we going to live if we sell our home the first day? You know, we haven't picked out our new house yet. How does that work? They'll have some questions. If yes, oh yeah, we move every 4 years like clockwork. Well, what was the best part of your last selling experience? What was the part of that seemed to work better than anything else? The most gratifying part, okay? Was there anything frustrating or disappointing about that experience? And it could be, well, yeah, we thought we had a deal. We got 2 days before closing and the buyers backed out because they couldn't get financing, okay? Find out. Or we agreed to let the listing agent hold an open house, and the first one, this family came in and tracked mud all through our house. We had to have professional carpentry. Find out, dig what worked and what hasn't worked in their past home selling experiences. This is very important information for you to get, because we think that what sellers care about is selling their home for the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time. That's kind of a mantra in the real estate industry. But in fact, many people have special concerns that we will never know about if we don't have this conversation. And it may be that they're going to pick their listing agent on the basis of the one who will sell it without allowing open houses. They don't want an agent coming in saying, gee golly whiz, this is a perfect corner home near the community entrance. We're going to have open houses every weekend and we'll have 50 people through here. It's going to be amazing. Some sellers would love that. Some would say, not in my house. Not in my house. This is where you find out that information, okay? Okay, so now we're transitioning. Let's talk about the sale of your home, this home right here. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being absolutely amazing, is there anything we could do to make this a great experience for you? And if it hasn't come out in the previous questions, it will here, okay? Yeah, I don't want to sell to anybody who's doing VA financing. What? No, you're not going to say it like that. The VA financing, what's your concern there? Well, 3 houses ago, somebody made an offer with VA financing. We sold at 250 and the VA appraisal came in at 175. And we swore to ourselves we would never allow that to happen to us again. Okay, duly noted. Thank you very much. Okay, so no VA. That would make it a 10? Yeah, that'd make it a 10. Okay. In addition to that, is there anything we could do to make it a 10 plus experience for you? Anything else? Well, I'm glad you asked, because we collect Fabergé eggs on every trip to Russia, and we go at least every 5 years. And the last time we sold a house, one of our Fabergé eggs got stolen, and we never could figure out who it was, but it was somebody who came in pretending to be a buyer who stole that Fabergé egg. So we want you, Mr. Listing Agent, to accompany every showing. We want you to be here in person for every showing and look over our eggs. Okay? Okay, that would make it a 10 plus for you? Absolutely. That's what we want. No VA loans and accompanied showings. Okay, we're going to take one more at bat. Just one more time. Is there anything else we could do to make this a 10 plus experience for you? And by this point, there may not be anything, or there might be. Well, as a matter of fact, we'd like to sell this home and then stay in it for another week so that we have time to move everything to our new home and not be rushed where we got to move out one home and move into another home on the same day. That was horrible last time. So if we could arrange to stay in the house for a week after closing, that would be a home run. That would be a 10 plus plus. Do you see all the good information that you've dug out that most agents would never even know about, would never have even surfaced in the conversation where we just go in and start talking about pricing and marketing and we're going to sell your house for the most amount of money in the least amount of time? Okay. No, we're asking questions. Remember what we said early on? We're asking good questions that uncover seller wants and needs, and then we're going to tailor our service offering to them to address those wants and needs. So take 3 at-bats on it. Go deep, go deep, go deep. They may not have 3 answers, but you want to give them that opportunity. Now, do you have any specific concerns about the home selling process that I should be aware of? And maybe these should have come out in the first 3 questions, but maybe they weren't thinking about all the different aspects. So now you're going to kind of prompt them. What about security? Security of your belongings, security of your family during the showing process. What about privacy? Some people don't want their homes, the wealthy homes, they don't want them listed on the MLS, right? You can take the listing, but you're going to have to market it to your network of other agents who specialize in luxury properties. We don't want it advertised to the general public. That could happen, okay? Marketing. You know, maybe they don't want you taking pictures of their wine cellar because it's got $1 million worth of wine in it. And they don't want that the general public knowing that, okay? Negotiations, home condition, timing of your move. So you just kind of walk them through some of these issues that may prompt an area of concern. Now, so now you've pulled out all of their kind of personal issues, good and bad, regarding the sale process. Now let's transition to talking about marketing your home. I have a robust marketing plan that I'll share with you in just a moment. But first, do you have any specific ideas about how you want or don't want your home marketed? Okay. And this could be particular photos or video or accompanied showings or open houses. It could be all kinds of stuff. Maybe they don't want a lockbox on the house, right? They want you to come with a key and open it every time. These things are all real, and you'll bump up against them in your career as a real estate agent. Great. Let me share with you what I will do to assure that every prospective buyer looking for a home like yours will see your home and see it presented beautifully. And what you're going to do now is present your customized total exposure marketing plan. That's what I called my marketing plan. This is a Word doc. You can call yours whatever you want. Just go in here and modify that. I called it total exposure. And the way I presented it is in the verbiage right here. This is a proven plan to assure that every prospective buyer looking for a home like yours is going to see it. And they're going to see it presented beautifully. Total exposure, it's out there. Everybody's going to see it who's looking for a home like this, and they're going to see a home presented beautifully. Okay, that's kind of the 2 points of it. And by the way, that total exposure marketing plan is included in the seller task list, that third link. And you can update it according to any particularities that you use. But if you don't have something else, use that as a starting point. It's got 16 points.
And this was before we now are being coached to give them all, give them IR.
So I was a little ahead of my time. Before the iBuyers ever came on the scene, I did offer to my sellers a cash offer quick close using local investors, people like Gabe Rodarte and Elizabeth Griever. And I have updated now this total exposure marketing plan to include iBuyers. And I even put a note in there about going to Zavvy.com and just filling out the information one time on the property and then letting them shop that property to all the major iBuyers.
Just as you're mentioning, Sandy, Carrie Woods, that her name over at Franklin.
Carrie Bond.
Carrie Bond. She is doing a class in a week or two on that. And it's on Facebook. So
awesome.
It's not in their Facebook screen. You may not know about it.
Yeah.
She's doing one.
So Tom is telling us that Carrie Bond with the Franklin team is going to be hosting a class on how to use Zavvy, and you'll find that information on the Franklin team Facebook page. So if you're interested in that, take a look at it. I would encourage everybody, go to Zavvy.com and look at the process. And you'll see there's just 2 or 3 steps that they're going to walk you through. You can submit the property to Zavvy before the seller has even said they're interested in cash offers. You can do some preliminary, but then for them to actually submit to the iBuyers, the seller has to sign off on it. But they've got a 2 or 3 stage process that will account for you kind of doing the preliminary on your own, get a feel for interest, and then get specific offers with their permission. And I actually have that in the seller task list as one of the questions that you ask prior to going to the home. Are you interested in cash offers with flexible closing dates? We think it's always quick close. Sometimes they want a cash offer and a slow close. Okay, so we don't want to presume. Correct. Excuse me. I had a cold over the weekend. Still got the juncolitis deep down, but so some sellers do not want to put their home on the market. And that's why Open Door and some of these others are sucking up about 20% of the listing inventory right now. So you want to be able to compete with that and go in, and let's say Open Door they go with, you want to be the agent who presents them the Open Door offer so that Open Door pays you a commission, basically a finder's fee for giving them that seller. Zavvy creates efficiency in that process by putting in the data one time and then they shop it to all of them. Z-A-V-V-Y. And I think it's this Zavvy.com. If you just Google Zavvy. Tom is speaking with a great deal of authority.
It's Z-A-V-V-I-E. I'm on it now.
Oh, Mark Haley is saying Z-A-V-V-I-E. We need an arm wrestling match. But I bet you Mark's at his computer right now. I'm going with Mark on this.
I'm on the site right now and it's ZAVVIE.
Is okay, IE, Tom. The chorus is IE. There we go. Okay. I'll bet you even if you Google ZAVVY, it's going to take you there. So Zavvy is compensated by buying the home low and selling the home high. Okay, they make their money on the margin, but they will pay you a commission, which is essentially a finder's fee for bringing them that opportunity. Okay, and it's not an MLS deal, but it's, I don't know if it's 3. It might be 2. I don't know. I haven't gone through the process yet. If you're a homeowner, you may want to do this yourself. Put your own home in Zavvy, go through the process so you learn the whole thing and see what kind of offers you get in comparison to what you know to be market value. That will at least give you some experience with the process when you present this to a potential seller. Okay, I think I'm gonna do it myself, see what happens on a new home. All right, so you go through the plan. Mine is a 16-point plan. It's in that seller task list. How do you feel about this plan? You've gone through the points, you've shared everything. Is there anything you'd like me to add, subtract, or modify? You know, maybe your last listing agent, you know, had a marching band with dancing bears and that's what sold the house and you're convinced that's what you need this time. Okay, if there's anything like that, let me know. Anything here on my list that you're uncomfortable with, let me know. Okay, and by the way, I don't know if I put this verbiage in the seller task list, but there's a way that I presented the marketing plan that I found to be very effective. What I would say to potential sellers is, I'm going to do for you what every other good agent is going to do for you. I'm going to put your home on the MLS. I'm going to hire a professional photographer, and we're going to get at least 32 high definition photographs that showcase your home beautifully. I'm going to put a for sale sign in the front yard, and I'm going to polish it and shine it. I might even put a light on it so that anybody driving by knows that your home is for sale. I'm going to go through 5 or 6 points to demonstrate to them that I know how professional realtors market homes, and you can be assured I'm going to do all that stuff. But then I say, I'm also going to do things that no other real estate agents do. And then I go through those things. Well, for example, it could be I'm going to shop your home to my private list of buyers that I maintain for this neighborhood who are actively looking for a home in the Apple Valley subdivision, and no home on the market yet has matched their criteria. I have 50 buyers on that list right now. I can promise you none of the 45,000 other realtors in Houston has a list of 50 buyers looking in this neighborhood. Would that be of value to you, Mr. Seller? You see what I mean? You list these things. This is what every good agent does, and I do all that, plus these other things that no one else does. Look at the seller task list, the 16-point total exposure marketing plan, and you'll see things on there that every agent does, and then you'll see things on there that very few agents do. But the one I just gave you is a perfect example of that. And you, hopefully everybody by now knows how you would get 50 buyers for the Apple Valley neighborhood. How would you do that, Thomas? Okay, a landing page, a squeeze page, the simplest way, a property boost, right? You spend $100, you're gonna get 20 buyers. So if I want 50, I'm gonna have to spend about $250. on core property boost ads. And if this is my geo farm, I'm running those ads a couple times a month. Every time a new listing comes on the market, whether it's my listing or not, I live in Apple Valley, I work in Apple Valley, I play in Apple Valley. Nobody cares more about Apple Valley than I do. I'm running an ad every time a listing hits the market. It's generating 10 to 12 buyer leads for me. Very few of them are actually finding a home on the market that matches. Is that true? Right? How do you find homes right now? So now I have this massive list of pent up demand for Apple Valley. Oh, and Mrs. Seller, because I already have the buyer, if I list your home, I may be able to save you a substantial amount of money on the realtor commission. Would that be okay with you? Yes, you could do that. Absolutely. For my best sellers, I do. And because we live in the neighborhood, I'm going to give you every break possible. Okay. And maybe you even want to quantify that. It'll be a 5% listing commission for you if I can sell it to one of these buyers I already have on my list. Okay. So just think through it like that. You always want to differentiate. You want to assure them that you're going to do everything everybody else is, because Susie Q realtor down the street, you know what she told them? I'm going to put it on Zillow. And I've had sellers say this to me. Susie's going to put it on Zillow. Will you put it on Zillow? Well, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, of course I will, because once I put it in the MLS, it's automatically syndicated to Zillow. If you list your home with a realtor, it's going to be on Zillow. Have no concerns about that. So yes, Susie will put it on Zillow. I'll put it on Zillow. But let me share with you a few things that I suspect Susie will not be doing to market your home that I will be. So we affirm the normal, and then we differentiate the super normal, okay? The stuff that only we're going to do, okay? Now let me ask you a few questions about your home so I can describe it accurately in the listing description. What improvements have you made to your home during the time that you lived here? You're taking notes. What do you feel are the best features of this home? What do you feel are the best features of this home's location and the neighborhood? Well, we're right across the street from the elementary school. They think that's a plus. Other people would think that's a minus, okay? But you're getting their opinion, and you're always going to sell what you have to sell. Are there any repairs or improvements you feel need to be made prior to putting your home on the market? Now, what if they say to you, yeah, you know what? The shrubs in the front flower beds are completely overgrown. In fact, it's embarrassing. I've been telling Harry for 6 months he needs to get out there with his hedge trimmer, and he makes every excuse in the world. What is this? What opportunity is just open for you? You know what, Mrs. Harry? I don't want you to worry about that. Would it be okay if I took care of that for you? How about I send over my landscaper and we totally refresh the front of the home to maximize your curb appeal at my expense? Would you allow me to do that for you? You would do that? Absolutely. I do that for all my best customers. And because we live in the same neighborhood, I'm going to give you every possible advantage. Is that okay? Okay. What's it going to cost you? Couple $100. Couple $100 to get everything trimmed up, edged up, refresh the mulch around the trees and the flower beds, and you've created a client for life. Okay. So just look for those opportunities. You find the landscaper, right? If you don't have a plumber, you go find one. If you don't have an electrician, if you don't have a handyman, if you don't, you know, one of the best things I've done for sellers that the ladies just love it, I hire a window cleaner. That's right, they decide to stay. Like, whoa, you can actually see the backyard now. So yeah, a cleaning service, you know, to come in and clean everything. But yeah, the window cleaning is huge. Now we've talked about any special concerns. We've talked about marketing. Now we're going to talk about pricing. Let's talk about pricing. Have you done any research on your own to try to determine your home's current market value? What is the answer to that question? Yes. They have, right? Because it's all out there. They probably have a Zestimate in hand, right? That shows that their $350,000 home is worth $425, okay? You're going to have to deal with that, okay? So you want to hear this. You kind of want to know what you're up against. So just ask it in a very casual, have you done any research? Have you talked to the neighbors? Have you followed any other home sales? Do you have any idea what you think your home might be worth? Generally, you'll get an answer.
Yeah, but in today's market, it's a little strange. It almost is like when you started at 307 and then 335.
Right.
And at 325,
We weren't even in the game, no.
so it's weird how it's not market. Or it may not.
So market value is what a buyer will pay in a situation without any external factors. Not a family situation. They're not under pressure because they're going bankrupt or anything. What a buyer will pay in an open market situation. That is the definition of market value. So even if the CMA on this home said 307 was the market value based upon comps, if my buyer in a competitive situation is willing to pay 335 and that's what it takes to get the home, what is the market value? By definition. And if appraisers understood that simple fact, our jobs would be so much easier.
But so if I come in at 307, then it's the price. You have a little something in there.
This was a cash offer. There was no appraisal. Yeah. And by the way, just one other little rabbit, because I've heard some agents confused and upset when they read in the MLS that the seller will not accept offers with FHA or VA financing. And it's like, why not? And the answer is very simple. It's illegal for the buyer to sign an appraisal waiver on a VA or an FHA financed loan. Conventional, there's no such rule. And so the buyer can sign away their right to cancel the contract if the appraisal comes in low. And that's what most sellers want right now because they expect the appraisal is going to come in low. And they don't want a problem when that happens. So when you see that no VA, FHA, USDA stuff, they're just saying, if you say you're going to pay $350, we want $350. We don't care if the appraisal comes in at $330. We want our $350. That's what that means. Okay? What? In 14 days, that's right. So have you done any research? You get an idea of what they're thinking, okay? Now let me share with you the data that I've found on every home similar to yours in your neighborhood that's been on the market in the last 6 months. And what I would do here, I wouldn't just pull the static picture of a CMA. I would do a pricing trend. And you can do that in HAR as well, where it will show you month by month, year by year, average pricing on homes, sold prices on homes that match the criteria you put in. Because it doesn't matter if the CMA was 330 in January, if in December it was 320, in November it was 310, in October it was 300, what's the value now? Probably 340. 340, you know, that's been the trend line. So that pricing trends report, I think, is equally important as the CMA. You put those two together, and then you have a real picture of value and where the value is headed, okay? Based on this information, you share with them the pricing trends and the CMA. What do you think is the current market value of your home? Now, you've educated them before you asked this question. You did a general, do you have any sense? But now that they've seen the data, what do you think is the current market value of your home? If you agree, if it's close within the realm of agreement, then you want to say, that's awesome. That's exactly the same conclusion I came to, 330. Somewhere in that 325 to 335 range. That's what the numbers are saying to me. Now, if you don't agree, if they're low, that's really easy. You know what? I think I've got good news for you. You think it's 285, but based upon my understanding of these numbers, I think we can get 310, 320. Would that be okay? I'd like to try. Would that be all right? They're happy as clams. But what if they're high, significantly high, and you don't agree? You don't think you can sell it for that, even in this ridiculous market. You simply want to ask them, can you tell me how you came to that conclusion? And listen to them. They may have some insight that validates their opinion. You know, maybe homes in their neighborhood have been selling off market for these higher prices, and you didn't have access to that information through the MLS. So be sincere and humble in asking, can you tell me how you came to that conclusion? And it may be that you're able to agree with them and go with it. If they ultimately want to price high for unreasonable reasons, it doesn't match the data, here's how I recommend you handle it. That's fine. We can never predict precisely what someone may be willing to pay for your home. We may go in ridiculously high and get it. Has that ever happened? It sure has in this market. We don't know. If we're priced too aggressively, we'll know pretty soon, because we won't get the showing activity we're hoping for, or we'll get showings but no offers. We'll monitor both very closely and then respond to market feedback accordingly. You want to get their agreement on this. And if they're especially high, then I would put a time frame on this. I would say, okay, we're going to hit the market this Thursday. Let's agree to meet back a week from now. Because in this market, homes are selling in the first 2 or 3 days. If we're still on the market a week from now, I think it warrants that we have another conversation and look at our showing activity and the feedback that we've gotten from showing agents. Would that be okay? So just kind of schedule that in. Hopefully you won't have to have that appointment. But you always just want, here's the situation you want to avoid. You do not want to be the bad guy. You never want to say, well, Mr. Ms. Seller, you think it's worth 350. I think it's worth 330. Now it's you against them. You always want to approach this when there is a disagreement as the them versus the market, right? You're a neutral third party. You're just observing what's happening here. You never want to get in an adversarial position. Well, the showing agents are telling us this. The market feedback is leading to this conclusion. Or what do you think we should do about this feedback where all 3 showings that we've had say the home shows beautifully, it's in a great neighborhood, but it's about 20 grand overpriced? How should we respond to that? Okay? So don't ever own a position as your own. Always push it off, and that way you'll keep them from getting angry at you. And sellers, Bob kind of mentioned my statement, often made statement that buyers are almost always happy, sellers are almost always grumpy, even when they sell the house, right? Because if you sell it for 20,000 over list, they're going to think, well, why didn't you get 30? Okay, they're just like never. It's not always the case, but they're generally unsatisfied at the end. They think they could have done better. Where buyers are moving into a new house and they're generally happy. You never want seller frustration directed at you. That's the point, because they tend to get frustrated. So you always want that frustration to be directed outside yourself. Now, then sign the listing the listing documents. But when you agree upon a price, assist the sellers in completing the disclosures. You don't fill it out for them. You push it across the table, but sit there while they fill out the Trex seller's disclosure, because they may not know what a sump pump is. They may not know what an RIAA 7.37 hearing aid assisted smoke alarm is, okay? So just be there to help explain what some of the questions mean. And if you don't know, study them up in advance yourself so you can be the expert as they go through that. Get a copy of the survey while you're there. Give them a copy of the T47. Instruct them to go down to their insurance agent or bank and get it signed.
Regarding the disclosure, it's come up you know, in Abby, we taught to use the track.
Use track, yes.
Because of the less liability there. Is that the same with EXP? Are we still promoting using the track? Do they have a requirement there?
I have not heard that EXP has expressed a preference for TAR or track disclosure. Has anybody come across that?
I think in the documents, I think when you look for seller's disclosure, it gives the TXR,
Which is the Texas Realtors,
which is the Texas Realtor.
which is TAR.
Yeah, but I may not have typed it where that's only when it came up.
Yeah, TAR is longer and asks for more information that goes beyond the minimum requirements of the property code.
We use the short one and we're not having issues.
Okay, great. Yeah, I would encourage you. Yeah, okay, so Victoria says Stephanie mentioned that she's using Trek and has not had any issues as well. This is an issue that it shocks me that the awareness of it is not more broadly spread, since it's so clearly laid out in the Legal Update 2 manual that every agent has to take a course in every 2 years to renew their license. But it's possible that EXP doesn't have an opinion on the matter. So, and we didn't have a requirement at Abbey Realty. I just made a strong recommendation on it. So your sellers can use either one. Sign the listing documents. We talked about that. Now we get everything signed. And get copies of past inspection reports if they're available. Even if you're using the track disclosure, disclose. Anything that you have, share it out there. Now let's talk about next steps. Discuss staying safe when selling your home. That's an actual document that we've created. I'll share that with you also. Discuss the importance and costs of a seller's coverage home warranty. And that may be something that you want to pick up that cost. It's typically $65, $75. And we'll cover any mechanical breakdowns according to the rules of the warranty during the listing period. Discuss preparing your home to be photographed. That's another document that I've prepared, and it talks about clearing countertops, packing up any unnecessary items, moving everything to the garage, going for that model home look. You want to talk about that. Schedule the photography appointment. Decide on a listing activation date. And I say in here, Thursdays have been statistically proven to be the best day to activate a new listing. That is absolutely true in a normal market, which we've not been in for a year and a half. So now the best day to put it on the market is when? Or if yesterday's gone, then today would be the best day. Yes, as soon as possible. I think I told you I put my home on the market last May at 11:30 p.m. on a Monday night, the absolute worst time. A buyer saw it at 2:30 a.m., called in the morning, came to see it and bought it. Okay, so that it just anytime you can get it out there. People are hungry and desperate and looking. Decide on a time day for weekly update phone call. This is your communication plan. And if they don't want a phone call, text updates, but decide with them how often you're going to communicate. And of course, obviously you're going to call them if you get an offer, you get some special feedback. But and again, we're in such a crazy market right now. In a normal market where you've got a 45-day marketing period, you want to establish at least one time a week where you consistently reach out to them. Those of y'all who are starting your career in this market, you're going to have to relearn some habits when it goes normal again. And this is one of those habits that in a normal market, you have to set up a communication plan. Explain that it's very likely you'll be inundated with lowball offers from investors and speculators. Get that lowball price that they authorize you to reject and put that in there. Get their signature on it. Provide a blank copy of the 1 to 4 family residential contract. This is the offer. And I would say, please take time to read this now. Because I would say now, because we're going to be inundated with this document from a whole bunch of people within a few days. And I want you to be familiar with the terms and the provisions of the offers we're going to receive. And that way, if you have any questions about it, you can ask me now. So when we're in the fray of sorting through these offers, we know what we're looking at, okay? Give them that in advance. Explain to the sellers that you've built your business on referrals from past and current clients. Ask them if they're aware of anyone else with current or upcoming real estate needs that you might be able to help with. This is where you fill in the referrals on that homeowner information form. If you don't have room measurements, take them now, get the sellers involved. Place the super on the front and a combo on the handle on the back gate. And now it's party time. And this really is super fun. And I still don't, even though I've been teaching this for years, I practiced it for years, I still don't know of anybody else actually doing it. You can be the one. It's open territory. Here's what you want to do. When you show up at that listing, you got your yard sign, right? You also want to bring with you a coming soon rider and a sold rider. You're going to, after you get everything signed, all the measurements taken, you're going to say to the family, give me a couple minutes. I'm going to go install the for sale sign in the front yard. I realize we're not going on the market for another 5 days or whatever it is, but let me go ahead and install the sign. I'll put a coming soon rider on it. And then I'd like to get a picture of the whole family with the sign. We'll use that in our marketing for your home before it even hits the market. So by the time we activate 5 days from now, we may already have a backlog of offers waiting for us, okay? So you get the family out there. This is what you're going to use to populate all your social media to show that you're the agent of choice. Sellers are choosing you to sell their homes. You get this happy family, you want the kids, you want the dogs, you want everything. Happy family around the coming soon sign. Then you take off the coming soon rider and you take a picture just with the for sale panel and the family. So once it goes active, now you're going to do your social media campaign again with the new listing just hit the market with the family in the front yard. Then you're going to put the sold rider on the sign and you're going to get the family around there and take their picture with the sold rider. And you're going to explain to them, when we sell your home, things are going to get crazy. You're going to be packing, you're going to be shopping for your new home, people are going to scatter, mom may be off in Pittsburgh at her new job. So let's go ahead and take your celebration photo now, so we'll have it when the home is sold. And what I just said is true. Once it sells, they don't care anymore. So you have to get it now. And I would typically do 2 photos here. And sometimes you just don't put the sold rider on the sign. Have little Jimmy hold it in his hands. And I would do one with them standing around the sign with the sold rider. And then I would always get a crazy family photo with all of them jumping in the air or something like that, catch them in midair. Those are incredible marketing photos. And I don't know anybody else taking them. So get a good camera. If you have an iPhone, you have a good camera, and snap those photos at the time of listing. Okay? All right? Yeah. Just have them sit in their wheelchair and yeah, go practice on the sign. And after you finish the pictures, tell your sellers, start packing. We're going to sell this, okay? Just have some fun with it. To me, this is an exceedingly simple process, right? There were no dancing bears. What's that? She's doing it. Okay. She's taking the pictures?
Whatever she said, you see in the comments, she said she's doing it, it's working.
She's doing it. Okay, there we go. What does Blythe say? Oops, I went the wrong way. Unmute yourself and just tell us what you said, Blythe.
I was just saying I'm definitely doing those pictures, and it's been really great for my geo farm because it's got the picture of the house in the background and everybody knows who everybody is. So.
Well, your geo farm is the exact neighborhood where this technique was pioneered. So that
I'm
makes
taking
me
it over, Frank, taking it over.
You're continuing the tradition. So that's awesome. So this seems too simple to work, right? We're asking basic questions about their past experience in selling their homes. Then we're going to talk about our marketing plan. Then we're going to talk about our pricing strategy. We're going to get the documents completed and signed. We're going to go out in the front yard and take pictures. But I'm not exaggerating when I say I had a 90% plus close rate with this process, 90 to 95. I mean, I just hardly can think of any listing conversations I ever held where I didn't get the listing. And it wasn't 100%, it's not a perfect world, but I'm saying, man, with this process, you get a listing conversation, you can count on getting a listing, okay? And then you market it appropriately. We talked about how to do that this morning in the KB core class, and you can springboard that into other listings, okay?
That's it.
Oh yeah, you start putting that stuff out on social media, it's going to get a lot of attention. Any questions about anything that I've shared with you?
Do you have a frank.gray file with all of that stuff?
Do I have a frank.gray file? It's interesting, I've been discovering, actually this past weekend in preparation for this class, I have a Google Drive with some old stuff in it. I have a Dropbox with some old stuff. And then I have some old print stuff in my office. So I don't have it all in one place. But in fact, I had to dig out these documents from an old Google Drive. And I'll get the other ones that are referenced in this material that I didn't share links to you. I'll share those out. But yeah, when I teach a class on geo farming or stuff or sphere marketing, I'll include some of that stuff in there. This is being recorded. It'll be on our YouTube by the end of the day. Yes, Bob?
Something I do is, I have them actually list 5 things, 7 things, 10 things they love about it.
Yes.
And I have them handwrite it legibly.
Yes.
Because anybody can type something.
Yes.
But when it's handwritten, and a lot of times they'll initial or sign
Yeah.
it too. And that's why I'll post it. And then I'll have that, in the binder.
Yeah. So.
And because what it does, is obviously, they can always think of something they love about their home, and maybe where it's located or whatever it is, the neighborhood, the neighbors great. That's what it's just.
Let me catch up our online audience. So what Bob is saying is that he asked the family at the listing conversation to write out 5 or 6 things they love about the home or the neighborhood, and he includes that handwritten note in the display material inside the home. And Bob, I must have been reading your mind, because I have those exact instructions in the seller task list.
Okay.
When I go into the materials that you need to have on display in the home, the survey, home inspection, builder floor plans, things like that, I include this handwritten note from the sellers.
I put that in too.
Oh, there's another level. Bob puts that as an additional attachment in the MLS. That's pretty cool. I'd never thought about that. Okay, anybody online? I want to give you all a chance. Anybody have a question that you haven't had a chance to get in there yet? Okay, the only green light I see is me, and I'm done talking. So appreciate you guys being here today. I'm going to stop the recording. We'll get this up on YouTube. And instead of watching those old reruns tonight, y'all can watch this again.